Welcome to Beyond the Press Release Canada Day edition. With us today, Steve Saviuk, CEO of Valeo Pharma, trades on the CSE under VPH for our friends in the US, VPHIF, and for our friends in Europe on Frankfurt under VP2. Look, typically when you hear about biopharma, you think big R&D, long approval cycles, high risk. That's the antithesis to Valeo Pharma. They're commercial stage revenue generating Canadian pharmaceutical right now. How they do that is they acquire the Canadian rights to commercial stage proprietary drugs outside of Canada, and then they commercialize them right here in the country. They're focused on neurodegenerative diseases, oncology, and hospitality, hospital specialty products. But the most important thing is this in-licensed business model means no development or clinical risk. More than just lip service. 2020 net revenue, $7.5 million. Recently closed $11.5 million bought deal, $6.6 million debenture, and that's before their biggest new drugs have yet to fully hit the market, and they're forecasting big revenue by 2025 as high as $160 million. Today, what do we talk about? Q2 record revenues, $2.65 million, up 42% sequentially over the last quarter, not the year before. Steve, welcome back.
George, pleasure to be back on Agoracom.
Congratulations on this report.
Thank you.
Before going into the details, how good does it feel for your company to be executing as expected?
It feels great. I mean, it's our best quarter in our history, and we've been around for 18 years, so that says something. And what I liked about this quarter is even some of our older products, our earlier products that we've had for several years now, were contributing well. And these three new products that we're launching, only Redesca had about 2 weeks of sales, so very minor sales from Redesca, and yet we were still able to meet that or beat the best quarter ever. What we're expecting for the current quarter, which ends July 31st, is an over 50% jump in revenues from that second quarter. So yeah, the afterburners are on. We're firing on all cylinders. The team's working. The products are out there. We just launched our 2 asthma products, and the key for our company is it's nice to have a portfolio of products, but you really have to look at the big drivers. And our big drivers will be Redesca, which is an anticoagulant or a blood thinner
for people at home in layman's terms.
Launched in late April. It's already become our best-selling product. This is a big market. It's about a $200 million market. We expect that annual sales of Redesca, not this year, but in probably 18 to 24 months, will be about $30 million per year.
Wow.
And our 2 new asthma drugs, which we launched last week, actually, we started shipping. We started to deploy a fairly large sales force to meet with doctors. We're going to be calling on about 12,000 doctors across Canada, both specialists and primary care or family doctors. And we're expecting revenues for these 2 products to hit over $100 million. And I know these numbers sound, almost too good to be true, but asthma is a big market. And these 2 products have shown that that in clinical trials, that they have surpassed the benefits of what today is being taken by people suffering from moderate to severe asthma. So we're very excited about the products we have in the launch. The people, we're over 80 people now in the company. We'll be 100 by the end of the summer. And the fact that we now have this capital from these financings really will give us the support for that growth.
And to be clear, because you said clinical trials earlier with respect to your asthma drugs, you didn't undertake those clinical trials. They've already happened at the expense of, and I'd love for you to say the name, a big pharmaceutical company that just looked at you guys, said, we want you guys to commercialize in Canada for us. Who is that?
That's correct. Well, as you said earlier, we do not take the clinical or research risk. We in-license drugs that have already completed those phases. So the company that we're talking about is Novartis. Novartis, as you know, is one of the top pharmaceutical companies in the world. And we executed a licensing deal, an 8-year licensing deal with Novartis Canada to gain the rights to these 2 new asthma drugs. And these are new drugs. They've just been approved, or they were approved last summer by Health Canada. Novartis had not commercialized them in Canada. In other countries, they are commercializing them in Europe and other areas of the world, but not in Canada. We are their Canadian partner. So many dollars. I don't know the full amount of the research cost on these drugs, but you could just imagine that these are world-class drugs, and that typically entails quite a significant investment. The phase 3 trials on these drugs, the final trials before approval, many countries, over 7,500 patients. So Novartis has done it right. They've done it in the big pharma way. And we're now deploying it in the big pharma way with really a top sales team that is now calling on physicians.
And that's the great part, because you know the efficacy. The whole industry knows. Government healthcare departments know. So this is why you guys are talking about. You're thinking that you're going to be doing $160 million in revenue by 2025 annually, correct?
That's correct. And that's a combination of these two asthma drugs, Redesca, plus some of the other drugs that we have. Again, just to touch very quickly on asthma, this is a large market. This is a $700 to $800 million market annually in Canada. And these two drugs, and specifically Enerzair, which is really the star of the drugs, it's a new 3 chemical combination drug to treat asthma. Has shown in clinical trials a significant improvement over what today is being used and what is considered the standard of care. So we're very optimistic and very excited is even the word about what the future holds with these products. Not to say I'm not counting any others that might be in the pipeline that we're working on. So it's what we have today. Great team, and great. It's just a great time at Valeo Pharma.
Steve, 42% sequential growth this Q2 over Q1. And you're also in this press release, you guys are estimating a 50% revenue increase in Q3 over this amazing quarter, Q2.
That's correct.
Is that what we should pretty much expect for the next several years? That these aren't just outlier quarters? It seems like this is going to be and why is that happening?
Again, nothing goes up in a straight line, as you know. There are a number of factors that, and even seasonality factors that do play into it. But yes, we expect continuous growth, led right now by Redesca, our anticoagulant, our blood thinner. And later on this year, as Enerzair starts to pick up in terms of sales, that Enerzair and Atectura will be the drivers for the years to come. So yeah, I would see as far out as we can see, and typically we model 3 to 4 years, we see quarter over quarter growth. But I can't say it'll be 50% every quarter. There might be some quarters that'll be even bigger, some quarters it could be less, but we'll see that ongoing growth, and we'll be talking to our shareholders about certain I would call metrics about prescriptions, number of physicians, and what I think our shareholders should look for is to see those numbers continuing to go up.
Your blood thinner drug, Redesca, is on its way now. We've talked about that. It's already hit the market in April, partway through the quarter. Now it's in full blown. It's going, and it's in the cycle now. Talk to us about where the asthma drugs are, what their status is, and what you expect.
They've been launched by them. So that means they're in pharma. They're in the drug system in Canada, which is the wholesale system, and in the pharmacies. Our sales team has deployed or started to deploy as of last week. That'll continue to accelerate throughout the course of July and until we start to really hit full stride beginning of August. But what's also very important is who's paying for these drugs. And typically, and it's something that's not talked about often, but again, patients rarely pay for their drugs. Drugs are typically paid for by both either private insurance companies or the public or public payer, which is the provinces themselves. As far as the private payers are concerned, about 80% of all patient lives covered by private payers have already agreed to reimburse this drug. So that's a big positive for us. Massive. As far as the public payers go, and that typically there's a lag with the public payers. They take more time before they come on board. We've started now to engage in that process, and I would expect that early next year we should have full coverage with the public pay. And that's where I say for the rest of this year, Redesca will be driving a lot of the sales growth. But once we have both private and public payers on board, you'll see Enerzair next year rise, I think, quite substantially and become, at that point, our biggest product.
You've raised, I gave the numbers earlier, $11.5 million bought deal, $6.5 million debenture. So you're just over $18 million. How far does that $18 million take you guys? Because like I said, you don't have to go through the clinical expenses and trial expenses. So how far does that $18 million go, and what will you be using it on?
I would say that should take us to cash flow break even. First of all, we have credit facilities available to us which have not been utilized. We have warrants outstanding, and I was told today that by our CFO that if all the warrants were exercised, it would bring in over $25 million. So that's a lot of additional capital. And we are talking to other non-dilutive sources of capital providers about potentially coming on board with our company. So our view right now is we did this financing, and if I had my way, we would not come back to the capital markets in the foreseeable future. And that's, I think, what our shareholders want to hear, that I think we've got the money to do the job that we have in front of us.
I'm going to ask you a devil's advocate question and then more of a blue sky question. Devil's advocate. Things are going great. What are the risks, though, and every company's got them, by the way. It doesn't mean they're fatal or they're a problem. But what are the risks? Because it looks like just great runway for you. Are there any risks that you worry about?
I've said this probably the risk is not about the products. The risk is not about finding the capital or having the capital. To us, it's execution risk, making sure that we have the right people in the right place. We have a new president that joined us in January from Servier Canada, a great guy, great experience, knows the pharma industry in Canada, well seen by other companies in Canada. So I think we've got a great leader in him to run the day-to-day commercial operations. And we've added a lot of people. And, as you know, when you add a lot of people in a short period of time, there may be a few that don't work out. And that's what we have to watch for. So I would say that the execution risk, adding a lot of people in a short period of time, make sure that everyone is Valeo culture. We have this culture in our company, which is very much around share ownership. The company is still very heavily owned by insiders. We did participate in this round. The 11.5 million had a $1.5 million president's list included in that. So, and that list could have been double it. We were kind of held back by our investment banking firm that had other clients they wanted to parse into the deal. So that, I think that commitment is what we look for in our key team, and in fact in all our employees. We want our employees to be owners, and it's I think that sets us apart. Maybe a bit like Westjet, that where Westjet people are shareholders. I don't know Westjet, it's a Western, very well, but I think there's a culture there, and I think Valeo in some ways has maybe a very similar culture.
I'll tell you a great 10-second story about Westjet. I always need gum when I go on a plane to chew when it's taken off from my ears. I forgot it. The gate people knew, but they told me there's no time for me to go get it from the store. So they said, you're just gonna have to go to your seat. And I go to my seat. By the time I've sat down, some Westjet employees huffing and puffing running down the aisle, give me gum. I go, what's this? She goes, we went and bought it for you. We brought it to you. So that's an example of, what you might expect out of Valeo. That's why I love that model. You got that Westjet model. I do note, though, you forgot one short-term risk that's pretty important, which is the fact that the Canadians are in the finals, and you got employees now who might be staying up late, victory parties, maybe having a couple of drinks, coming in a little bit late in the morning. How are you managing that risk, Steve?
That is probably, as you say, one risk that even I may be at
even you're guilty of
tonight. And luckily, Canada Day is tomorrow, so we're going to be able to recover. And then Game 3 is Friday. So, but yeah, the fever, Canadians' fever, certainly caught Montreal, and it's caught Canada. And I think it's very interesting that we have a Canadian team in the finals, and I think all of Canada's come around Montreal. I've seen maps of Canada, sort of animated maps which have the Canadians logo across it, and it's very nice to see that after the last year and a half that we've gone through with the pandemic and what have you, that something is really gripping and pulling people together, and I'm just glad that it's happening in our city.
I want to give you the blue sky question, because I told you I was going to ask you a devil's advocate question, and I want to give you the blue sky question, which may be a small devil's advocate question, which is any concern that you guys are growing so fast, you're doing so well, you've got this great forecast by 2025 that you become a takeover target?
That is, I think what prevents that from happening, it certainly could happen. And it's certainly things that I've thought of as, especially given our share price, I think is a little depressed right now. Post financing, we're around 85 cents. Our market cap is probably 60 million. With that potential, you start saying, yeah, could someone? But again, we have a great shareholder group, and I think our objective is to certainly build this company for the foreseeable future. And I think that group gives, in essence, kind of like I wouldn't call it a poison pill, but anyone who would want to buy the company has to come and see myself and a bunch of our employees here. And I tell you, right now the feeling we have, the sheer sort of I guess optimism we have about the company. No one's looking to they would not be well received. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I don't think it would be either, but I thought it'd be a great question to ask, because I mean, I know I wouldn't vote for any kind of takeover anytime soon. That's for sure.
We're still we've got a young team out there, and it's getting younger. And I'm it's hard to imagine, but we've got I think a team as strong as even the big pharmas in Canada. We've got people here who worked at Merck, who worked at Pfizer, worked at GSK, and what have you. And they like this entrepreneurial company, the opportunities they see with with our products, the opportunity to participate through share ownership. And I can't say enough about the people that work for Valeo Pharma. That is our big strength. And good people, good products, well capitalized. It's a formula for, I believe it's a formula for success.
And I like to call it, real products, real business, real revenue, real customers. And look, it's translating to, record revenues this quarter, more record revenue coming for Q3. So you guys are hitting on all cylinders. I want to thank you for coming on and talk to everybody, and congratulate you again on another fantastic quarter.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, George, and enjoy your Canada Day. I know you'll be rooting for the Canadians tonight.
Absolutely.
Look forward to being back on your show with, again, more updates on Valeo, and can't wait to get back on.
Yeah, no doubt that you're going to be on quite a bit in the next 6 months on a every couple of weeks, every 2-3 weeks. I can see that happening. But let's celebrate this one. Congratulations to you, the team, and everybody, Steve.
Great, thanks a lot.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Steve Saviuk. He's CEO of Valeo Pharma, trades on the CSE under VPH, VPHIF for our friends in the US, and VP2 for our friends in Germany on Frankfurt. Your part now, the interview's over. You got to do your due diligence. The best way to do that, especially if you're new and you've seen the numbers reported and you kind of attracted yourself to the story saying, who are these guys? 2 ways to do it. First, get to the profile for Valeo on Agoracom, because we know it's biopharma. We know there's a lot of science here and a lot of terms you may not understand. We've broken it down to layman's terms, a good 10,000 foot view of the company. Take you 3 or 4 minutes to really understand what they do. And then from there, use the link to hop over to Valeo's website, do your deeper dive due diligence, because hopefully you discovered your next great small cap pharmaceutical company. We think we have, but you got to make that decision for yourself. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Happy Canada Day. And for our friends US could be watching this on the weekend, happy July 4th weekend as well. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and then leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel so you don't ever miss another great Agoracom small cap video.